Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio, here with Amanda Hall, Psychic, here all the way from the Gold Coast. We're in week 2 of the Commonwealth Games here, so it's been a really party atmosphere here for the last week or so, and it's very difficult not to get caught up in the hype and the bubble and the froth and the fun of the games, and I'm probably like just about everybody else in the Commonwealth. I've been glued to the television watching my favourite sports. Mine's actually the swimming, so it's been sort of late nights and sort of trying to avoid working of a morning so that you can watch the heats in the pool. So they've just finished their swims last night, so now I can sort of get back to reality while the games wrap up over the weekend. So for those of you that are not into the swimming or the Commonwealth Games, I hope you've had an absolutely awesome week. It's been a really interesting week in this last week as we're in the Aries time of the year, and things always sort of fire up and people get a little bit toey, and people also find that they're really reevaluating what's important to them. It's like a second bite at the cherry for our New Year's resolutions. We'll have another look at them, we'll air them a bit more and see what we can take out of them, what we're going to cross off the list and what we might want to add to it. So this brings me to the card of the week this week from the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is the Eight of Cups. Now, the Eight of Cups has a few different meanings, but the first one can be money problems. Now, money problems doesn't always mean a lack of money. It can be the juggling of money or chasing money. If people owe you money and you're self-employed, sometimes that can be a tricky situation, how to have that conversation with people about the fact that they owe you money. The secondary meaning of this card is turning your back and walking away, knowing nothing more can be done. Now, this can apply to many areas of our lives. Many of us have situations where we need to wash our hands of the situation, draw a line under it, say, that's it, I've put in as much energy and effort as I'm going to. The only solution now is turn your back, walk away, no more confrontation, no more disagreements, no more talking, thinking about it, whatever. It's done. It's completed. So it's almost like a card of finish, which is a good card to have at the moment as we're heading into the new moon in Aries. Now, I'm going to hear you say, gee, haven't we just finished getting over the blue full moon in Libra? That only seemed like yesterday. Well, I know it only felt like yesterday. But we do have the new moon in Aries coming up before the next show next week. So that's why I thought I'd focus on it now so we can all get ready for bringing in the energy of the new moon. Now, the new moon in Aries is literally like the beginning of the year. It's literally like January 1, where we all start to set our intentions, our goals, our hopes, our wishes, our aspirations for the new year. Well, this is the astrological new year. It is the first new moon in the year. So new moons always denote the fact that the things that we're looking to attract in our life, the things that are brand new, the things that we have been working towards that are now ready to take shape, are now ready to bear fruit, or we're now ready to take that next step and make it a reality. So when we have the new moon in a sign, and it's always in one of the 12 zodiac signs, it means it takes on the energy of that sign. Now this week, because it's in Aries, it's about me first, it's about enthusiasm, it's about fire, it's about passion, it's about getting up off the couch, really taking those first steps to the things that you want to bring about into your life. It's also about self-motivation, but it can also be about motivating other people. So it's really important that we look to the future when we try and motivate other people and sort of say, why am I the one that's in the driver's seat here, that I'm the one that's motivating other people? Well, sometimes that's our role that we have to play. So without a further ado, I will introduce the candles. So we do have the new moon candle. So the new moon is a candle that has been designed specifically in its colour and its fragrance and its intent that's been placed into the candle in its making. They are all hand poured, they are lead-free wicks, and they are made with the best eco soy that is available at the planet at the time of the production of the candles. Now, this is specifically for the new moon. It's one of my favourites, actually, because I like to think of new opportunities, of something fresh, something new being brought into our lives. And because we're in the fire sign energy, we're also in the fire sign candle. So this candle is applicable for Aries, Leo and Sagittarius, so it covers the 3 fire signs. I didn't purposely design 12 different zodiac candles. I divided them into groups of 3 and 4 different choices so that you had a candle that was a little bit more versatile. This one's also one of my favourites, probably because I'm a Sagittarian and I burn this one quite regularly. So how would we work with the candles? Well, with a new moon, we'd sit down and we'd write a little list. 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 things that you want to start to try and bring into your life, I always suggest a couple of things that we can achieve fairly quickly, and then maybe some longer range plans. Write 2 identical lists, read them out aloud, put them underneath the candle, always put the candle on another coaster or a plate or something between you and the surface it's burning on, because the glass container itself gets hot. The soy mixture doesn't get hot, but the glass container gets hot, and we don't want to scorch the table. So then you light your candles for anything from about 15 minutes to 2 hours per day. So if the new moon is at when its highest energy is Monday the 16th, wherever you are in this planet of ours. So I would start burning my candle from about the 14th, bearing in mind the new moon is the 16th, so we burn it for 3 days then, takes us to the 17th. You can safely burn it from the 14th to about the 19th. But bearing in mind the strongest energy is 16, 17, 18, and you would light both candles, reading your information out to the universe. Never leave a candle unattended, never under a curtain, under an air conditioner, a fan, and always away from children. So that's covered that. So we're going to be moving the show quite fast today, because we need to make sure that we squeeze in our 2 readings. Last week, I do apologise, we only had time for 1. This week we'll definitely get 2 in. So we're going to be now looking at our first part of our 4-part series in astrology, where we're going to be talking about the houses. Now, I hear you say, why would we be talking about houses? I've got a place I live. We're not talking about the place that you reside in. We're talking about what makes up an astrological wheel. So when we look at a circle being a circumference of 360 degrees, we look at houses being on a flat wheel, which means where we're not using a time of birth, where we would divide those planets into 12 equal parts of 30 degrees. So each one of those houses is like cutting a piece of pie, where if we cut a pie into 12 equal pieces, we'd be saying piece number 1, piece number 2, and piece number 3. Well, in astrology, we call it house number 1, house number 2, and house number 3. Now, how does this affect us? House number 1. House number 1 has got a very airy sort of feel. It's about me first. It's how I package and present myself to the outside world. And some people relate to this, or people that have a little bit more knowledge in astrology know that house number 1 relates to the ascendant or the rising sign, which, if we have a time of birth, tells us where the sun was at the most eastern point in your chart, where the first house was. It doesn't necessarily put your sun or your sun sign in the first house, but it's the most eastern point of your chart when you were born. So if you have first house energy, everybody has a first house. Everybody has a rising or an ascendant sign if you know your time of birth. So your first house is about how we package and present ourselves to the world. And this is a house of very I. It's about what me, myself, and I wants to do, how I want to approach my personal life, how I want to approach the world, how I want the world to see me as an individual. House number 2 is again on the I focus. It's my money, it's my possessions, it's the things that are important to me. It's my morals, it's my value system, it's how I handle my personal finances, it's what I stand for, it's what I believe in, it's how I want the world to view me and judge me, and what is important to me, and the things that I might get on my soapbox about, the things that I might turn around and say, hey, I don't like this, or have you looked at this cause, or have you thought about this? This is my personal stuff. The third house is how I handle my local environment. Again, the things that are important to me, the things that might be going on in my local environment, the things that I like to communicate about, the things that I like to get involved in, the things that I might have literally zero interest in, and I will avoid them like the plague. So the first 6 houses in astrology are the I houses. So it's all about me, myself, and I, and how I approach things. So next week we'll be working with houses 4, 5, and 6. So we'll be tuning into that next week. So as we have our little quick trip around the universe, and I know for most of you that sort of message me regularly saying that you really find this part of the show quite interesting, because it helps you understand why maybe you've been a little bit titchy this week, or you've been a bit cranky with everyone. We still are under the influence of Mercury retrograde. We've spoken about this many times on the show. Mercury retrograde is the planet of communication, still doing his dance backwards. He's actually in Aries. So he's sort of making things a little bit tricky there for people to sort of understand what's going on and, how to handle things. So he's asking you to still sort of be very, very careful about how you communicate in this next week. Make sure that people have their listening ears on. Make sure that your directions or your instructions or the message that you're trying to share is very clear. We will feel the effects of Mercury starting to go direct from the 15th, but bearing in mind that takes 2 or 3 days before it really ramps up and we really feel the definite change of, oh, yes, I can exhale, and people are now starting to listen. And we have less problems with technology and missed telephone calls and miscommunication. So hallelujah, bring it on. But we need to focus this week on the new moon conjunct or holding hands the sun and Uranus in energy. Now, I hear you say, what on earth does that mean in terms that I can understand? Well, we've already talked about the new moon. When we talk about a conjunction, we talk about planets literally sitting next to each other or sitting next door to each other, or holding hands is the way I like to describe it. So we've got the new moon coming up to hold hands with the sun. Then the sun is actually holding hands with the planet Uranus. Now, what this means is we can have some really tremendous breakthroughs with the new moon energy, because we've already established they're all sitting in Aries, so it's all about me, 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 and have I told you about me, and motivating ourselves and others around us to get up and make things happen. With the planet Uranus here, he's going to create the openings or the opportunities, like the bolt of lightning, something that comes out of nowhere. It can be the light bulb moment. It can be being in the right place at the right time to meet that somebody that's going to change the course and direction of your life. But bearing in mind, we need to make sure that our drive and our ego is in check, that everything is coming from a pure place of light and positivity, not from a negative, needy, greedy sort of place, because it won't work. If we're coming from those negative, greedy sort of places, we negate the opportunities that can come towards us with the purity of light of the sun and also the beautiful, motivating new moon. So we've got the beautiful brand new moon illuminating beautiful positive energy on us, holding hands with the sun, radiating its beautiful rays from the sun, and all the, the golden energy and the protection and the beautiful new opportunities of the new day adorning. And then we've got Uranus coming in, like that strike of lightning saying, well, okay, you've been so good. Here's the opportunities that you deserve. Now, how are you going to work with these? If you choose to work with the negative side of your energy, or you don't know how to get out of negativity and that's just what makes you happy, well, then bear in mind then things may not be so easy for you this week, because Uranus will show you the darker side of himself and say, okay, you like negativity? Here, have another dose. Have a bit more. You've done nothing but send out negative, nasty comments and tried to pull people down and be greedy and pinch people's money. Well, I'll show you what it feels like. So always be aware there's a positive and a negative to everything that we work with in astrology. Nothing is ever always all positive or always all negative. There's always balance, the yin and the yang. And I believe if we try to be the very, very, very best person that we can be every day, then the rest of it follows suit, because, light attracts light. If we're nice and kind and positive and try and do one little tiny positive, unselfish thing every day, then we're sending out a very positive message and vibration to the universe at what we would like in return. So I always believe what you send out is what you get back. So we're going to go to our first caller, which is Jackie in Clear Lake Oaks in California. Are you there, Jackie?
Hi.
Hi, how can I help you tonight, Jackie?
My daughter hasn't been talking to me, and I'm just wondering if I should bug her or not to talk to me or not.
Okay, Jackie, look, I'm really sorry that communication's broken down between you and your daughter. Is this a recent thing, or is this a longer-term ongoing problem?
Recent, but it's been coming on for a while.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I felt that it wasn't just sort of one day you had a few words and then all of a sudden you're not speaking. I felt this had probably been building up. I'd go so far back as to say 3 years. It's been a slow, gradual decline, some really nice patches in between, but then some patches there where things were getting a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Look, I certainly wouldn't be reaching out to her till after Mercury goes direct again, so I'd be certainly safely leaving it until at least the 18th of this month. I'm not saying don't give her positive energy, think about her in a positive way, all those sort of things, but I wouldn't reach out before then because she's just as likely to not listen to you, to still be sort of in that aggressive, shutting her ears off, I'm not listening mode. So we want to give this the very best chance of being able to sort of reconnect and establish another relationship with your daughter. Your daughter's very stubborn.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying she doesn't get some of that stubbornness from you and some of it from Dad, and probably an awful lot she owns herself. But what you've got to understand is she believes she's done no wrong. Now, I don't agree with that, but this is the energy she's sharing with me, that she hasn't done anything wrong and it's all your fault and you're too critical and you're too judgmental and you never let her explain anything and you never let her be her own person. So this is the reasons why she's decided not to talk to you, because she believes that way she's taking her own power back. Well, yes, she is taking her own power back in some sort of fashion, but at the same time, she's also showing me how childish she is in the way that she's behaving. It's everybody's choice and everybody's right to draw a line under a relationship and say, I'm done. That's not what I'm questioning. What I'm questioning is the way she came to that conclusion or came to that decision. She's done that in a very childish, emotionally immature way. Instead of saying, look, Mum and I have had an argument. I don't agree with Mum's standpoint on this, but hang on a minute. Mum's a grown up, so am I. Now let's try and find a way of finding some middle ground where we can agree to disagree even and still have a relationship. Now, what she's done is she's just shut the door and said, you don't exist anymore. Well, that's not exactly the way to handle something like this. I do feel it's still going to take a little bit of time, Jackie. I wish I could say we could wave a magic wand and everything would be right. They're showing me August, and I think it's going to take till August till we really get this back to a point where you're not sort of apprehensive about picking up a phone or sending a text message or inviting her over for a meal. You're not walking around on eggshells. So I know that's still 4 months away, but I do feel that there will be some little bits of connection in between them. I do feel after August, it's like we break down these barriers of what caused this to begin with. And I feel then you're both approaching it from a different set of eyes. It's almost like she's matured, and what you've done is looked at things and said, look, okay, I'll dismiss most of that because I'm the adult here. I can override that and sort of let's just get a connection happening again. You are my daughter and I love you.
Yeah.
So you're sort of taking the higher road in that way. And I'm not saying that all parents should do that, but I'm saying in this instance, if you want to re-establish a connection with your daughter, maybe this is what we've got to do. And then when you've got it on a really good footing, if the time arises and you feel the need to, then you can bring it up again and say, hey, darling, I wasn't really impressed about this or that or the other. I appreciate, you're a grown-up and you've got your right to your own opinions, but, gee, you hurt me. You know what I mean? But don't sort of go down those paths in the early stages, because if you do, she'll just get her back up and it's sort of like more confirmation to her she was right, even though she's wrong. So, as I said, she's very stubborn. She's very opinionated. That's a good thing, though, because it means she's not going to let other people walk all over the top of her. And that's what you've got to remember. She's shown you how tough she can be. And that's a good thing. But I do know that you will re-establish your connection with your daughter. It will take time. But when we re-establish it this time, it's going to be more as equals. And I feel that's the important thing that needs to be established here, Jackie, that you will be equals. And she will respect you. It's interesting because I can hear her saying in the next couple of years, wow, Mum's grown up a lot. And it's not that Mum's grown up, it's your daughter's got a different attitude to how she approaches grown-ups. She's the one that's matured and settled down a lot more. Is there a dark-headed young man in her life?
There's her husband, but he's bald. I don't know what color hair he has.
Okay. I think he's part of the problem, I'll put it that way.
Okay. I kind of figured that.
Yeah, I thought you might have. And it's just sort of like, look, I don't want to place all the blame at his feet either, but I just sort of feel that he's egged her on a little bit, encouraged her to sort of take this stand. But, look, I think in time it'll all blow over and everything will be a lot better. And his opinion won't be as influential, I'll put it that way. I'm not saying they'll divorce or anything like that, but your daughter will be able to make her own mind up. Anyway, Jackie, I hope that's been of help for you tonight, and good luck with your relationship with your daughter. We're moving on now to Catherine in Mount Pleasant in South Carolina. Are you there, Catherine?
Yes, I'm here.
How can I help you tonight, please, Catherine?
I was wanting to just see if you have any insight on my future or from any connections with family members that might have passed away.
Okay. Catherine, I don't, in the short time we have on the show, it's really hard for me to sort of just say I'm just going to tune into the other side. If someone wants to come through from the other side with a message, they will, and they'll interrupt the reading I'm about to give you, and I'll deliver it to the best of my ability of what they're sharing with me. At the moment, what I am being shown is that there's a number of endings, changes and transformations that have been taking place in your life. And I'm going to say literally over the last 18 months, and it's sort of, there's been growth spurts and then there's been periods of absolute dead stillness where nothing's happened, and then we sort of get a bit of a spurt on again and another change, and that's about to level itself out now. So I feel now we're starting to move forward with some of the hard work that you've done. We're starting to see the fruits of your labours for that. So is there another job on the front coming up in the next couple of months? Is that something that you're looking to do, is to change jobs?
Yeah, it is, actually.
Yeah, because I can see a new job coming up. They're showing me probably around late May, early June. I sort of feel it's slightly different to what you've been doing before, but it seems to be more, they're saying to me that it better suits you. So is that going back to something that you walked away from? Or is it, resurrecting some old skills from the past that you haven't used for a while and now's the time? But I just sort of feel the next job really fits you like a glove. You feel very comfortable with it and you feel very happy with it. Did you or have you decided to change residence?
To change what?
Residence, where you're living.
Yeah, actually, we were just talking about that today.
Okay, so in these discussions about moving, was there talked about an old little cottage style house?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, good. Because somebody from the other side was showing me what I would relate to as being an older style cottage with a little picket fence at the front, or a little fence at the front. And it seemed to be sort of, I was going to say tired. It looked like it needed some loving. So I don't know whether that's the next place you're going to buy, or whether it's something you have talked about you'd like to buy or like to live in. But that was what I was being shown. I'm taking that this message is coming definitely from a female from the other side. So I'm not sure whether it's your grandmother or your great-grandmother.
Okay. Yeah, both are passed. So.
Both passed, yeah. I just sort of felt it was a grandmother's energy, and I wasn't sure whether it was one or two of them, or whether it was, two grandmothers that had passed, like on mum and dad's side, or whether it was, two on mum's side, your grandmother and mum's mother sort of thing. But there was sort of two female energies, and they were showing me this house connection. Is there 3 children?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Yeah, because they were just showing me 3 children too. They weren't showing me anything else, just said to me there's 3 children. So I feel that there's quite a few changes to come up for the family as such this year, but you with new work, the new home to be going into. If you do buy a house like that, a cottage like that, I know it's going to be a very happy home. It's going to be somewhere that is going to stay a long time. Like, it's a long-term project. It's not a short-term, we'll only buy it for a couple of years. This is somewhere where we're going to put roots down and raise a family, and probably add on to the house too. I think it's probably a little bit too small for the growing family, but initially I think it's great, and I feel very comfortable there. Your husband also, I felt in the last 12 months, had been struggling with his health a little bit. Has he been sort of extra tired in this last 12 months, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I don't think he's sick as in like there's a condition that the doctor needs to fix. I just feel that he's been tired. He's been, I think a little bit frustrated more than anything, that he sort of felt that, you were so stuck in life that, we should have been able to move forward more. His energy will start to return, and I feel that he'll start to have more of a smile on his face as the two of you sort of feel that you've got out of this rut, and, you're able to sort of start to see things starting to unfold and to be able to make plans for the future. So with this house decision, is it a decision to buy a place?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I keep seeing deeds around this house with the cottage-style house. I could see it as being something we're going to be incredibly proud of. I hope your husband's handy with a paintbrush, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Good, because I can see a lot of painting going on, and the house to me is structurally sound. It just needs to be loved. You know what I mean? It needs a coat of paint. It needs a good clean. It needs people. It needs children. It needs love.
Right.
It needs energy. And it's just going to be such a lucky, happy house for you. And, you know, everybody seems to sort of really thrive there. So that's really good. But I think as far as finances and things like that, yes, things are improving, but you need to just keep, you know, putting one foot in front of the other and have a talk to your grandmothers before you go to sleep. Tell them what you need to know. Ask them to give you the answer in the morning when you wake up. They're there to help, sweetie. They're not decorations up there. They're there to work. They're there to help you and guide you. And they're very proud of what you've been doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So is there a male up there as well? Someone like a dad's age or an uncle's age?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. They were just showing me it would be about a parent's age, and it was a male, and he didn't say anything. He was just there. So I can't tell you any more than that about him. That was all I was given, Catherine. But it may be one of the grandmother's sons. So, you know, they'll show that to me as like your dad's age. If it was, say, your great-grandmother's son and he's already passed, but, you know, he might have been 70 when he passed, sort of thing. They'll show it to me in that way. Anyway, Catherine, lovely to speak with you. We've come to the end of the show. So on next week's show, we'll have our Simply Tarot card of the week, our soy candle of the week. We'll also be looking at our second part series in the houses, parts 4, 5 and 6. We'll have our little glimpse around the universe. And for those of you that are here on the Gold Coast with me, enjoy the party for the rest of the atmosphere as the games wind up over the weekend. For everybody else around the globe of ours, have an absolutely awesome week. And don't forget to put a smile on your face and open a car door or a door for somebody special. Have a great week. Bye for now.